And we welcome you to this edition of In the Circle Live After Dark. We're going 3, folks, for the first time since 2021, the National Championship Series, the Women's College World Series Final, however you like to call it, will be going the distance as Texas Tech holds on to win a thriller against Texas 4-3 to force a winner-take-all on Friday. Good evening, everybody. Eric Lopez alongside Victor Anderson. Coming up, we'll be joined shortly by Associate Head Coach Laura Trout, who played for Jerry Glasco, and Jerry Glasco was an assistant at Georgia 15 years ago, was in the World Series. We'll get her thoughts on this matchup that is going the distance. We'll break down Game 2 and get you set, ready to go in Game 3. Reminder, subscribe to In the Circle SB, not just here on the YouTube channel, but also on the podcast feed. We'll be back Monday on the podcast feed to recap all the World Series stories and much more. And, of course, follow D1 Softball. The crew is out there. They're working right now. They're at the postgame. Jenna Becerra and Justin McLeod and company are all there. And there's more, Vic.
That's right, Mr. Lopez. Make sure you go to d1softball.com. Use the promo code WCWS2025 to get 20% off of your annual subscription. And to find out how you're doing in your bracket challenge, go to bracket-challenge.d1softball.com. See where you stand, especially after tonight's game where, it's a microcosm, just like last night, Eric. We had nothing going on in the first 4 innings, and then the 5th inning, everything decided to pop off, sir. And appropriate time where our special guest for this evening has arrived to give her in-depth analysis on everything that took place this evening, sir.
No doubt. Let's bring her on here, of course. She's become a regular on the show. She's one of our favorites and was kind enough to stay up late here because, well, she likes softball. That's it. It's not me. It's definitely the softball part. Laura Trout joining us here. How you feeling there? That was a nail biter there at the end.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, especially when you don't really have a dog in the fight. So just good as a softball fan, a lot of fun.
What's your takeaway from this game? This game, Victor just mentioned it. The first 4 innings, nothing going on. Texas Tech's leaving runners on. And then things really go at a different level in the 5th inning. Texas going really by committee in the pitching staff. We'll talk about that a little bit. But what's your first quick takeaways from this game?
I just find a way. Find a way. You get this far. You're facing the best pitching. You just got to find a way to get 60 feet. Every 60 feet counts. Every run counts, and it doesn't really matter how they come.
Kind of an old school game, too. Texas Tech scores on a hit by pitch, on a wild pitch, on a sac fly, and on a ground out. Well, you got to get it done. That's not the Jerry Glasco offense I'm used to seeing, but he'll take it.
I think that's part of a Jerry Glasco offense that we don't always talk about is, they're going to have games where they just pound the ball, score some runs. But he also has a way of just kind of having offenses that find a way. They're scrappy. Oh, you're going to hit me? I'll take it. Oh, you're going to walk me? I'll take it. And just find ways to get it done. Put the ball in play. We saw some squibs that were tough to handle. Those scored runs. Just put the ball in play. You got a hitter's mentality of as soon as that pitcher lets go of the ball, and I'm a hitter and I refuse to lose, I got a shot. And we saw that with Reese Atwood last night. The only way you were going to get around is if you do something she couldn't touch. She was determined.
Very determined there. Victor, what do you got for Laura Trout here?
The biggest thing, Coach, that I saw was how Texas, we referenced last night after Game 1, how Texas needed to be cleaner defensively. They were strong in the first half of the game, but the defense again let them down, especially that throwing error that set up Texas Tech to get the eventual insurance runs, which really needed to come in handy in the 7th inning. How important was Texas Tech able to take advantage of those mistakes by the Longhorn defense tonight?
Well, I don't think there was a ton of strikeouts. And when you don't have a ton of strikeouts, that means the ball's being put in play. The ball's being put in play. You got to make the plays. And I think that's, again, goes to credit Texas Tech. Just apply the pressure however you can. And, athletes feel that. Athletes feel, giving up 60 feet, giving outs away. They feel that. And, all eyes are on you. You just got to kind of find a way to clean it up. It's not easy, especially if you're used to your pitchers getting strikeouts. Used to getting some strikeouts and not being in those jams as often. Just kind of clock back in. They're all athletes. They got some of the best defenders on the field. So just kind of reset. Watch a little bit of it. I think the best thing you can do is go watch some video, watch it, just kind of see yourself being successful and regroup. Tomorrow's another day.
Now let's get in. Texas decided to start Mac Morgan. She goes one time through the batting order, got out of a bases loaded jam in the first inning, just like Kavan did last night against Texas Tech. They bring in the freshman Salmon, had some good stuff, but ran into some issues in that fifth inning. She hits Alana Johnson with the bases loaded there to get the first run, then a wild pitch. Were you surprised that they let Salmon? I was a little surprised they let her in going through the second time of the order. I can understand going one time the order, but then again, in defense of the staff, they did bring in Satali Gutierrez in the sixth inning, and she didn't look great either. So that might explain why they left Salmon in longer, and maybe why Salmon got the ball, because she's been throwing better than Gutierrez, it seems like, down the stretch this season, because Texas's pitching hasn't been at the level it was a year ago. But what did you make of the decision overall to just not start Tegan Kavan?
I think, nobody's going to know his staff better than Mike White does. But you also got to think about, on the other dugout a little bit too, is I think Jerry game plans for pitching, better than most. He's going to have his hitters ready. He's going to have a good game plan. And I think, if you have no idea who you're game planning for, it's kind of a figure it out. And sometimes, hitting is hitting and competing is competing. But they always talk about Jerry and his machines. Well, those machines are prepping you for what you're going to see. And if you're prepping for something that, you don't see, if you're prepping for Tegan and that's not who you get Mac Morgan, then you just kind of have to recalibrate and reset and whatever game plan you had going into, just kind of set you back a little bit. Doesn't stop you by any means. Obviously didn't stop them. You just got to regroup. Sometimes you can steal some outs that way. So maybe that's what they had in mind, is kind of by committee, so the Texas Tech hitters couldn't really adjust as quickly.
Well, it kind of you're obviously the hitting coach at Illinois. You learned from Jerry Glasco. For those that don't know, you played for Jerry Glasco. You've been on record of saying Jerry Glasco is a big influence in your coaching career from the standpoint of the offensive game. So talk about, how does he prepare for a team? How do you prepare for a team that's going to go by committee and they're going to give you different arms? Like, I don't know how much of a book they had on Salmon, how much they were thinking. I mean, you have to adjust on the fly on all that. So just take us through that from a hitting standpoint. How do you plan when you may not see a pitcher more than one time in the order?
I think that's the hardest thing to plan for. That's why when you have a committee game or a bullpen game, you just kind of have to, look at what your team's strengths are, what your team's weaknesses are, kind of maybe prep for your weaknesses. Say you don't hit drop balls well, which, it looks like they were hitting Mac Morgan's down pitches, decently. Just as an example, maybe that's what you're prepping for. Or maybe that's what the machines are set on. That's, what you're kind of working with. Or maybe you don't hit rise balls well, so you're kind of really locked into handling that rise ball during your training session. Just depending on what it is. But again, it's the hardest thing to do. You don't know who you're going to get. How do you prep for it?
Well, we know who Texas has been getting. It's been getting Nyjah Kennedy. Jerry hasn't been shy about that. What'd you see from Nyjah here tonight? Texas kind of hit her a little bit. We were talking I was talking in absolutes, and they were like, hey, hold on here a second. You had a feeling Texas make a run. You were right. They made a run there in that seventh inning. So I'm curious, what did you see from Nyjah? And what did you see from Texas there in the seventh inning? Is that something they could build on towards tomorrow?
Absolutely. I think, they showed a graphic that the most losses, Nyjah's had was against Texas. So they're very familiar. I think even going back to last year, Stanford, they played at Texas a couple times. They're very familiar with her overall. And I think that just kind of tells you how good she is they're familiar with her. They know what they're going to get. She's a competitor. She's like, this is what I have. Come get it. And that last out, I think you saw that competitive. Like, all right, this is my best stuff. Come and get it. And kind of like just going back to what we're talking about with just, as a hitter, you're kind of at the mercy. You understand you're the one standing there with the bat, and a pitcher has to come to you, or they walk you. They have to come to you. So, it's just kind of a battle of wills at that point. And I think what we saw was, Nyjah she wasn't going to give it up today.
No, she wasn't. So what adjustments would you recommend Texas and Texas Tech? I mean, we're expecting to get Kevon Kennedy tomorrow, right? Is there any questions about that? Like, we're getting both of them.
I think, you watch the film. They can't go home overnight and invent pitches. They can't go home overnight and come back tomorrow with something they don't have. So you know what you're going to get. And I think it's going to be about, just whose mindset is refusing to lose today. I'm going to compete in the box. Even if I don't have my A swing, I have my B swing. Do I have my compete swing? You got 2 A's, 2 of the best in the country. That you're probably going to be off balance some. It's just going to be whose hitters find a way, whose hitters compete, whose hitters, leverage some hitters counts, gets their swing off. And sometimes it, like we saw today, doesn't have to be pretty. Just kind of getting in the box, refusing to lose, and taking 60 feet every chance you get.
Well, and the other thing is interesting to me, you mentioned it earlier, both teams were putting the ball at play a lot. There wasn't a lot of strikeouts in this game. Do you have concerns about Texas's defense? There was a couple of miscues there in the 7th inning in particular that really maybe kind of now they're going to be really thinking about after losing by 1 run there. What did you see there defensively from Texas? Because you were, for those that don't know, I've said this before, if they had the gold glove back when you played, you would have won a gold glove at short. Jerry has said that, as a matter of fact, to me multiple occasions. So what did you see there that went wrong for Texas defensively, if anything?
I just letting the game speed up. Like I said, you're in late innings of a World Series game too. Things can really speed up if you let them. You got runners everywhere. Sometimes that puts you out of position you're comfortable being in. You just got to slow the game down. Take those deep breaths. I mean, that infield is fully capable. I know they lost their shortstop and they kind of had some musical chairs on the infield, but they're all phenomenal athletes. They all have. Tomorrow's going to be about the mental toughness. Who's going to kind of just drown out the noise, drown out, making the moment bigger than it is, and fielding the ball when it's hit to them. Because, like I said, if you ask any of them, they've done it a million times. Now you're just dropped into a stadium full of a lot of fans and a lot of eyes on you, but it's still the same softball that they've played, still plays that they've made. They wouldn't be here if they weren't capable of making those plays. So I think, that's probably what, they're going to watch film and talk about that and just kind of find a way to be mentally present and not let the game speed up on them.
That's right. Vic, the game is speeding up for me, so I will take a pause here and slow big pace here while you ask the question here, because you're right. There's a lot spinning there.
Absolutely. Well, the interesting thing, Coach, about tonight's game is that Texas Tech jumped on Texas early on and got the first runs of the game. Texas bounced back and gets the home run for Mia Scott. But the response from Texas Tech in that 6th inning, again, started with the throwing error that allowed Texas Tech to get those 2 additional runs. How important was it for Texas, given how last night went, to score those first runs and give Nyjah some breathing room, especially with how things went down in the 7th inning?
I think, that's just the reason they've made it this far is because they've found a way to get just enough. You don't need a lot when you have Nyjah in the circle. And I think that we've seen them find ways to get that breathing room and that confidence. And it really kind of gives them, like we saw it speed up on Texas, it kind of gives them a chance to kind of just take a deep breath, slow the game down, and just play ball. So I think it's huge. It's important to get that lead, especially when you have somebody in the circle like Nyjah, who, even just if you didn't score, she gives you a chance to kind of breathe and figure out pitchers, because you're going to get a few at bats, and you're not going to have to score a million runs.
Yeah, now you're Texas Tech. You have momentum. You've gotten some great. Your offense is starting to find its rhythm, especially with Mia Davis, who going into the championship series has kind of struggled, kind of finding her way. Had a nice at bat in game one to close out that game, and then we saw what happened last night. Here tonight. How important will it be for the top of the lineup for Texas Tech to continue to, as you say, put the ball in play and put pressure on that Texas defense going into this winner-take-all tomorrow night?
I think it's going to be the name of the game. I think it's going to be just how early and often can they have runners everywhere? How early and often can they put the ball in play? How early and often can they speed it up? We saw them steal home earlier in the World Series. We've seen them do all kinds of stuff, and that's they know, they watch video, they've seen these games. It's all of those things are going to be in the back of your head, and that's what speeds the game up. So I think for Texas Tech to kind of keep that momentum going, just keep doing that. Just keep pulling rabbits out of your hat. Keep doing stuff. Keep them on edge. Just guessing, and just applying the pressure.
Let's talk about Jerry Glasco. You know him very well. For those that may not be aware, talk about you and Jerry and how long you go back knowing him, going back to the Georgia days, and when why he was such an influential figure for you from a standpoint of teaching the offensive game and how he teaches the game.
Well, I think he's so important to me, and because I wasn't heavily recruited. I went to junior college first. Even out of there, I had my junior college stats, and he was the one who and you can tell that his players now, and he still coaches this way, but you knew that he believed in you. And going through that recruiting process when I didn't have a lot of people, picking me or choosing me, and then you have somebody like Jerry who believed in you, and then every day at practice is like in awe of what he thinks I'm capable of. I think that in itself is motivating as a player. Knowing your hitting coach thinks you're capable of all these great things, but overall, I always say I was a swinger. I could swing the bat, and I became a hitter when Jerry taught me what I was doing. How do you approach pitches? How do you approach pitchers? How do you approach game plans, situations? Just overall confidence in the box. I think a lot of young hitters should understand that half the battle in the box is like the confidence piece. And I think that's the biggest thing, he instilled in me was like, you're in this lineup, you can swing the bat, go on. There's not a single pitcher out there that's better than you. And he meant it. So you really felt it. And I think I see that with his team now. They love him. And I know it's because of, the confidence he gives them, because he believes in them. So I think that's huge. It's cool to see on this stage. It's cool to see, that other generations kind of getting to have that, because like I said, I owe a lot to him.
No, it's been fun to see him coach and talk and being honest, maybe too honest at times, as in the press conferences there from that standpoint. What's it been like for you to see him at this stage as a head coach with Tara right by his side, his daughter, Tara Archibald, who was a head coach and then decided to come to Texas Tech, be with his father. And, they told the wonderful story on Monday night going against Sam Landry with Jerry Ann and the connections. And, of course, the connections in this series with Mike White having coached Jerry Ann at Oregon. There's just so many plot lines here that it's been wild there. What's it been like for you as somebody who has known them all the part for so long?
I'm so happy for him and Tara. Just kind of this last 6 years is probably couldn't be easy. Jerry Ann was his baby girl, and she grew up at Georgia with us, so she was like our little sister. We would finish practice, and Jerry would be at the field for however many hours, and then he would go out there and throw and hit and stuff with her. So just kind of all these connections, and just kind of it all kind of coming to head at the World Series, which is where every softball fan, player, everyone kind of just dreams of being. Just seeing it all come together it's pretty cool, and I'm really happy for his family. His wife, Miss Vicky, I mean, she's one of the nicest people I've ever met. Just, seeing her in the stands out there, I'm just so happy for them all. Like, Jerry's a great coach, and it's awesome to see that kind of everyone else gets to see that.
You've brought it up, and they've talked about it at the broadcast about the hitting machines he brings everywhere he goes, which has become folklore now. I feel legend. When did that start? Like, what's the theory behind that? Do you ever find what's the story? How did he come up with that? Hey, I need to bring all of these different machines on. I've never heard that, but I don't know how common that is. Like, what led to all this?
I mean, I think he's escalated over the years.
Oh boy.
Because we used to bring a few. I know when we went to the World Series, we sent a bus ahead, and it had the machines on it and things like that. And I'm prepping for Daniel Laurie, and on those fields back behind what they call it, Devon Park now. There's some fields, and that's where we would warm up and stuff. And I remember hitting off those machines, and they were there. And I remember him shipping the machines to Palm Springs. I'm in a crate at our hotel. So I mean, it's just, I think one of his players was being interviewed, kind of talking about him too, and it's exactly how it felt for us. He sets some things up on something you'll never see come out of a human being's hand. Just absurd spin, absurd just break and things like that. And then when you step in that box against a person, it's like, this is easy, this is nothing compared to what he's been making us hit. And I think a lot of it is, like, if you want to get technical, it's the, just that compete, you're creating a swing and a hitter that can compete with different things, and you get to know yourself as a hitter, you get to know the adjustments you make. So, kind of that make it hard so that everything else is easy type thing.
Well, you talk about a kid that's really embraced it in the last month or so, has been the freshman Haley Toney at shortstop.
Yes.
Who has been unbelievable. I've called her Miss May. Jerry's been bragging about her since really we talked before the season. He's compared her to you from a glove standpoint there, and she continues to be tremendous in the glove and offensively. What have you noticed there? Because she's taken a different level. Like, it seems like it's clicked for her. And maybe that's the thing with each hitter. When you learn Jerry's offense, some of them it takes a little while as a freshman, but she has figured it out. She's been tremendous for that. What have you seen from her?
Exactly what you said. It looks like it's clicking. By this time, you're not a freshman anymore. You're like a blooming sophomore. You've been through the rigors. You've at this point almost played the maximum amount of games allowed. So it looks like a freshman that's kind of really clicking, getting going in Jerry's offense. And I'm sure he's, instilling that confidence in her. And there is no better time to be feeling your best, seeing the ball best than at the World Series. Or, late May, early June. And it just looks like it looks as a whole like they're just having a lot of fun, not a lot of pressure at bats, regardless of the situation. And that kind of really allows the comfort and things to click.
One thing I've enjoyed, this has kind of felt like we're going back to old school softball here a little bit. Like Jerry Glasco told Holly Rose, like, we got to do something in this fifth inning, because he kind of anticipated Kavan maybe coming in the 6th to 7th inning. There's the pressure of, hey, if we fall behind against Nyesha Kennedy, this kind of feels like, it's like we got to scratch out some runs because there's no guarantees. What have you sensed that watching this series? It feels like we're kind of going back to the future, if you will, in the old Michael J. Fox movie. For those that may not be aware, I love that movie with Christopher Lloyd and company. But it kind of feels that way. Like, it's very intense, and every pitch and every at-bat as a result is magnified. Not that it's not magnified normally, but it really feels magnified because there's consequences with each pitch, it seems like, or if somebody gets a scratch out a run.
I think when you have a scrappy team like Texas Tech, it feels like that. You're facing a pitcher like Naja, it feels like that. But just in general, going back, I mean, it feels like, when I was younger and I used to watch Kat Osterman, you knew she was going to throw every game. It's, Nyjah, she's going to throw every game. I thought it was going to be Nyjah and Tegan for 3 games. And I mean, we saw Tegan today, but we did see her a lot of their innings. So it does feel old school in regards to where we're seeing the ace versus the ace. We did see Committee today, but, it still kind of feels like, Nyjah's that old school ace.
What's your early thoughts on game 3 now? After seeing these first 2 games, works up keys there as far as, do you think one team has an advantage over the other? Is it pretty much split down the middle 50-50? What's your gut telling you here as we get to game 3 on Friday night?
I think it's going to come down to execution. Obviously, if you win game 2, you're feeling the momentum. But I think it's what it's going to come down to is execution. I think what we've seen is 2 fairly matched teams in their own categories. They'll each have, I think, different strengths and different weaknesses. But which one of those strengths are going to show up? Are the weaknesses going to be glaring? We talked about Texas defense. I think if that gets cleared up, it is going to be an old school 0-0. So I think, who's going to take care of what needs to be taken care of. We don't need to go to the drawing board and do stuff we haven't done all year. So I think when it comes down to who's going to execute, I think Nyjah's going to pitch like Nyjah can pitch. Can Texas hitters get one? Again, anything can happen. I don't see them roughing her up. So are they going to be able to just compete and grind out some runs? And when it goes to Texas Tech, that's what they're used to. They're used to competing and grinding out runs and every now and then getting a hold of one, especially late. So who's going to, take care of the business?
Taking care of the business. Now, Victor, I'm going to give Coach Trout all the credit for this following statement.
Right.
I thought the umpires were great tonight, and I think part of that is they realized she was going to come on the show, and they're like, we better raise our game here with Coach Trout coming to the show, because I'm telling you, we don't want her to get on our case. So I thank you. You've helped umpire this game for once where we don't have to talk about umpiring. Thank you.
Hey, Eric, can we share the news right now to ensure that we're going to have any umpire questionability in tomorrow night's game?
Sure. Go for it.
So we know y'all love Coach Trout so much being on our In the Circle After Dark show that she'll be joining us again tomorrow night after game 3, but she's going to bring a good friend of hers, Mr. Lopez, isn't she?
Yeah, I've been texting with her. I'm going to bring her. Your old tag team partner, Lisa Goller, is going to be joining you. We got to talk 2010 Georgia 15-year anniversary. Coach, we got to get that reunion for tomorrow night.
Has it been that long?
I mean, it's been a few minutes. It's been a few minutes.
Well,
she's stuck. Listen, be glad we weren't if you were on the D1 softball podcast.
Speechless. We rendered her speechless.
Well, D1 softball podcast, when me and Jenna hosted, we've been putting photos up from when we've had guests on. We've been putting on photos from them from the World Series. So we don't have that though. We do not have a photo of you.
We're not doing that, Coach.
So
we're not going to do you like that.
You're safe like that, at least.
Well, I appreciate that.
She's speechless there. It'll be fun. What
is it? Is it because you can't find any?
No, we could probably find it. Vic's very good at finding stuff, but we're not going to do that.
But we respect our guests. We respect our guests on our shows.
Me and Jenna host the D1 softball podcast show. We had Kinsey Fowler on last week, and she popped up the Kinsey Fowler photo of 2010 when they were calling her for a legal pitch, and so it was kind of awkward there.
Couldn't crow hop back then.
Oh, I know. It was crazy.
Hey, for the record, the photo that we had of Kenzie, her foot was maintaining contact on the rubber. So,
gosh, that's true. Did you face her in that World Series?
We didn't face Arizona.
Never did. Okay.
We faced Washington, Tennessee, Florida, and UCLA.
That was Lori, right? Her senior year?
Yep.
Jesus, that's pretty good.
I remember those pitching machines prepping for her.
What's that like? How do you prep the machines for like an All-American 2-time National Player of the Year?
I think it was on curve screw and maybe a changeup. I don't remember exactly, but
Fair.
I remember getting jammed on her screwball and getting a hit, pulling her curveball and getting a hit. So not doing what I was supposed to do with either of them.
That's pretty good.
It doesn't matter if you don't do what you're supposed to do. You got a hit. So
I guess.
It's true. It's true. Great atmospheres. By the way, your reaction to Patrick Mahomes catching some softball there.
Oh, that's awesome. It's awesome that he's supporting. I think hopefully people will see and follow suit. So just kind of, I would like to see him amongst the fans. I want to see him amongst the people.
Could be some security questions there. They might have. But you know what's funny? You know what's funny about that booth that he's in? They obviously showed Holly Rowe went up in there. When Holly went up there, it's Patrick and his wife. I realized one thing. That's the same booth that I am on. I am inside during the Big 12 tournament, where we've done shows from there. That press box.
Yes, we have.
So I should take credit for that. I should be proud of that. That. Right? You got Mahomes in the same booth that I have now. That could be fun.
I think so.
But it's also been fun.
We need to see Matthew McConaughey there.
Yes.
We've been calling for it. Been calling for it. Now, Kat can't go
Maybe
be
Arch
there because.
Manning.
Arch. Arch. That's a good one. Yeah, Kat's not available. She's doing AU. Yeah, Kat can't do it all. She's at AU Cell right now.
Yeah, she's in Chicago.
If they win and she's not there, I think
you're going to reach out to her, not me.
Upset. Nobody's going to be more upset than Kat. Because I think she's gone every year.
Yeah, she has. That's the irony. She's gone every year. And, of course, this is the year where they could win it, but she can't be there. But, hey, that's a good problem to have. So we'll see how she handles that. Yeah. But I'm guessing she's going to be. I am sure she's going to be in a room by herself, and everybody's going to leave her alone.
Yes, do not disturb for the next 3.5 hours, or possibly longer, depending on how the game goes.
I think that's why Trout talks to me a lot, because normally she would probably talk to Kat, but I have a feeling Kat would just be ignoring both of us right now.
We have a group chat, and sometimes I can tell.
Yeah.
It's the same when we're watching Georgia. We're just like, yeah. So
I've heard so much about
we understand.
Yes, very true. But listen, this has been exciting. We got record TV viewership. We got big time attendance. I mean, what's it been like? You're in the game itself, but this has been exciting. This could go down as maybe the greatest World Series to date. Every game, not just this series, but some of the games we've had during this, like the Texas Tech Oklahoma game, the Tennessee UCLA game, even with all the stuff. You got Tennessee Oklahoma. I believe every game has basically come down to the end, except for the 1-run rule. I think the Tennessee Florida game. I mean, this has been amazing stuff, Coach.
I think it's a great product. I think we've always been trending up for as long as I can remember, and it's nice to see that the viewership kind of correlates with the growth that we're feeling, and I think it just shows that overall it's college athletes are competitive, and the passion's there, and I mean it's just a great product. Fast pitch softball is incredible. I mean, even college baseball. I'm a college baseball fan. We've talked a little bit about that. They've had like 6 unseeded teams in their regionals, and I just think college athletics as a whole is awesome because it's unpredictable. So we got a great product, great sport, and it's only going to get better. I think each year it's gotten better.
Well, to your point, both softball and baseball this year, the #1 overall national seed bounced in the regionals. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that kind of proves your point there a little bit.
Yep.
We'll see. All right, Coach, we're going to let you go because it's late. I know you've been busy all day moving around stuff, so we're going to let you get some rest while, clowns like me and Vic will continue the show. But we will have you back tomorrow. We'll have you back tomorrow night, hopefully at a more reasonable hour. We'll see. Can't predict all that, but we'll see how it goes for Game 3. But thanks for joining us and offering your analysis.
Oh, it's always good to be here.
All right, but there is Coach Trout joining us here on In the Circle Live show, Victor.
Yes.
Give me your initial thoughts here in Game 3.
I mean, it's fascinating this is the one champ series that, as Coach Trout said, 2 evenly matched ball clubs. And can we my advice to everyone, rest up in the first 4 innings because nothing's likely going to happen. And wake up, have an alarm, wake you up by the time the 5th inning starts, because that's where all the chaos and the calamity is going to happen. We saw it in Game 1 last night with the obstruction call and Texas Tech getting on the board, and then the Reese Atwood intentional walk, 2-run RBI to get Texas the lead in the win. And then tonight, Texas Tech strikes first. Mia Scott puts Texas back within 1, and then Texas Tech uses another Texas air to get a 4-1 lead, and Texas nearly roars all the way back again.
It's been unbelievable. Vic, I've said this for years. I thought you covered the most exciting, memorable World Series in 2021. You were there in person.
I was.
In my opinion.
This is surpassing it.
Do you agree with that?
I think so. Because I had this stat. Actually, I bookmark a tweet that I had saved from our own VM Pocky from D1 Softball. Of the now 14 games played in this year's Women's College World Series, 7 of them have been 1-run games. 13 have been decided by 3 runs or less. Yeah, and you're muted, by the way.
Wow. No, I'm just, you know why I'm muted? Because I was not saying proper language. So
maybe it's a good thing you were muted.
No, I did that on purpose.
Yes, so let me repeat that one more. Yes, so let me repeat that one more time for those of you just joining us. 14 games played in this year's Women's College World Series. Only 1 game, the Tennessee-Florida Run Rule Massacre in an elimination game Friday night. That's the only game that was not decided by 3 runs or less. And tonight's Game 2 was the 7th 1-run game we've had in this year's Women's College World Series.
That's incredible stat. And we still got 1 more to go. It's going to distance.
Yes, we do.
And it's been a classic, right? And the numbers, for those that may not be aware, it came out earlier on Thursday night that Game 1 of the championship series, Victor, did 2.1 million viewers. 2.1 million viewers. The most watched Game 1 ever in the history of this College World Series in Oklahoma City. The 5th most watched game in the history of the sport. We've now had.
Talk about this right here.
Right there. And it peaked at 2.8, up from last year's Oklahoma-Texas series. And I'll be honest with you, they nearly beat the Stanley Cup Final, Game 1. Stanley Cup Final, Game 1, between our beloved Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers, did 2.4 million. I think, Vic, the only reason why the Stanley Cup Final beat the World Series was because they went to overtime. If the Panthers would have just taken care of business in regulation, I think the World Series would have had a bigger won. So blame our beloved Panthers for this. But that's an amazing number.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Eric.
It's amazing.
And I tell you what, tonight's game is going to draw a strong number as well. And you brought this up, Eric, on your social media tonight, and we're going to find this out for real tomorrow. Tomorrow night's Game 3 could be the most watched college softball game ever. Not just in the Women's College World Series, not just for a champ series, most watched college softball game ever.
Right. I mean, the record, and I tweeted this a couple days ago, it's 2.33 million which was game 3 of the 2007 World Series between Tennessee and Arizona. Monica Abbott versus Taryn Mowat. And this one has a chance. We'll see what tonight's game is now. This game got delayed due to weather, so it started at 8:50 Eastern, 7:50 Central. You also, tonight, we're going up against the NBA Finals, game 1, which turned out to be a lot better, I guess, than people anticipated. The Pacers somehow won this game. I don't even know how, because I felt like every time I was looking in, the Thunder were in control, and then they weren't. So I don't know how the weather delay and the NBA Finals will impact, if at all, the numbers.
Right.
But to your point, now you got a game 3, which always draws big.
Yes.
And this has a chance to be the most watched champ series ever. Remember, last year was the most watched champ series ever. It averaged around 1.9 million overall. This one already started with a 2.1. If it stay, let's say, if they can somehow get to 2 million again tonight for tonight's game, woo-wee, it could get a big monster number. And I think what it has proven here, okay, a few things. And I don't, there's going to be a certain amount of people that are going to take this the wrong way, but it's not meant this way. I think the fact that we have a fresh national championship series with a star pitcher has helped. Don't you agree with that? Like, look at all the coverage that Nyjah and Texas Tech have gotten since getting to the champ series. Look at tonight. SportsCenter was there. Everybody's going to be all over the Patrick Mahomes appearance. And by the way, credit to him in that, from what I understand, he flew in. Remember, there was like thunderstorms and bad weather in the area. It wasn't like easy to get in, but he flew in today.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming he's sticking around for tomorrow, right? You got to at this point, right? It'd be a bad look, so who knows? So people are going to be curious. People are going to be curious just to see him. Yeah, I think this has been a great series. And I know there were people wondering, well, are they going to be hurt by the lack of Oklahoma and the attendance? No, the attendance has been magnificent. Both Texas and Texas Tech. Yeah.
12,000, over 12,000 fans again tonight. 12,220 was the official number.
Yep. Yeah. Big numbers. Attendance success, viewership success. We needed fresh blood. We got fresh blood. That's just is what it is. And we have a star. You could still develop a star. Nyjah Kennedy is a star. Everything she said when she made this move, Victor, that's proven accurate. It's happened. It's happened. Mm-hmm. And now she's one win away from winning the national title, Victor. Your gut feeling, who has momentum here? Is it Texas Tech because they won the game? Or is it Texas because they did get a couple of runs off Nyjah there? They should, in theory, have a fresher Tegan Kavan, if you believe that theory, which or is it Texas Tech because you have the best? Like, what? This is going to be fascinating, right? Like, this is, and we've said this, right? Even you pick Tech, I pick Texas. I think we all agreed this is like a slim margin. Like, I don't think anybody like, oh, we're confident here. Like, it's a toss up, and it's lived up to that.
It's not only was going to be a toss up. We've all said that we will be stunned if it didn't go 3.
And it is. And it has.
And honestly, it is. This is going to be. This is a game that's going to shape
it's historic.
It's historic. It's going to shape who could be the potential co-face of the sport for the next couple of years. Is it still going to be Nyjah Kennedy or is it going to be Tegan Kavan? That's the thing. And I'm intrigued, Eric, and we're getting a lot of comments from the chat. First of all, thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. That's why y'all the day ones. We're the originators. Scott Martin brings up an interesting point. Glasgow will play to win tomorrow, and Mike White will try not to lose it.
I don't know.
Now, look, here's the thing. Mike White has had his moments. I think he's coached a little bit better this postseason. Now, the pitching situation tonight, was that the plan? We don't know. But I will say this. Texas needs to clean up the defense again. Fang Nai always comes through with the stats. He says, in the 6 Women's College World Series Finals games Texas has played, Texas has scored a total of 18 runs and have made a total of 15 errors. So if you include tonight's game, that'll be 21 runs scored and 17 errors for Texas. The defense has to be a little bit cleaner.
But keep in mind, I mean, some of that was like yesterday, they had 4 errors, but 2 of those was because of a questionable umpiring call.
Fair. So unofficially,
but you're no. But listen, it's all accurate though. Either way, it is all accurate, and that has always been the question about Texas. Has been their defense. Now that being said, you got Scott at third base that's playing really, really well, an unbelievable level.
And I said those already include tonight. Thank you, sir. I wasn't sure if you were included.
I think the question's always been this year with Texas is up the middle. It's short at second because of the injury to Vivi Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
Since right? They played good at short. They've played Stewart at short. So it's caused a cause and effect. So no, that's valid, and that might be the difference. Putting the ball in play, like the national championship, could be decided tomorrow night, Vic, on a defensive miscue. It could. It could very well could.
It certainly could. It certainly could. It certainly could.
But yeah, it's been fascinating. Let me see here. What else we got?
Eric's phone's blowing up as we speak, but yes, it's been.
But yeah, no, it's been fascinating from that standpoint.
Yeah. By the way, couple facts I want everyone to follow up on. Nyjah Kennedy has thrown every pitch in Oklahoma City. First pitcher to do that since 2019 to Rachel Garcia. Nyjah's trying to do what Taryn Moat did with Arizona over a decade ago. Throw every pitch and lead her team to the national title.
Has that not happened since? Has that not happened since?
Actually, Garcia did that. I forget. I beg your pardon. Garcia did that in 19.
I was going to say, okay.
Because UCLA walked off Oklahoma in game 2 to win the national championship. So, yes, that has happened previously. Now, also, what Texas Tech is trying to do is become the 5th team ever to lose game 1 of the Champ Series, win the next 2, and take home the national championship. Oklahoma did it back in 2021. I would know I was there. Well, at least I was there for the first 2 games, but not for game 3. But you see, but here's the funny thing, Eric. The first one, 20 years ago, Samantha Finley and Michigan lost game 1 to UCLA, won the next 2, and took home the school's first national championship. Can Texas Tech replicate that tomorrow night in Oklahoma City?
All right, let's play this game. If Texas Tech wins the national title, Vic, tomorrow night, is Nyjah Kennedy at the Patrick Mahomes level of the greatest Texas Tech athletes?
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes.
Sorry, Cheryl Swoops.
You've been surpassed. Whoa. Cheryl Swoops is still up there.
Right, but she ain't Nyjah if Nyjah wins the national. Sorry. No, I disagree, D. They're not throwing Chloe Riasetto tomorrow unless it's something went wrong. You got to write Nyjah, right? You're not. Are you kidding me? You can't.
You got all off season the rest.
People will lose their mind if she doesn't start or take her out. Like with
people
the league.
Will go absolutely bonkers.
No way. Oh, no way. Ain't gonna happen, brother. Look, you brought it up, Vic. The pitch. I think the plan for Texas. The only part that surprised me was that No, it was that Salmon. Well, a couple of things. That Salmon, they kept her in as long as they did. Because Mike White said in the in-game interview, hey, we're going through one time in the order. But they kept Salmon in through the second time in the order. And I was surprised they let her face Alana Johnson with the bases loaded, with a freshman in that spot, in that stage.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what influenced that decision is clearly they don't trust Satali Gutierrez. She hasn't thrown well recently, and she didn't throw well tonight in the 6th. So I can't, I don't think Satali would have answered that. I guess the only question is, should you have brought in Kavan at that point? But Kavan didn't get help from her defense, but maybe they should have brought her in the 6th inning with a 1-run deficit. And that's my thing. The only thing about the Kavan thing, if you committed to this plan of not throwing her, then why did you throw her in at the end? I would have just if you're going to bring her in to start the inning versus coming in relief.
Because Texas Tech facing Kavan when it's a 2-1 game.
Correct.
As opposed to her cleaning up on a 4-1 game.
Correct.
That could have made the difference between if Texas Tech is playing in a game 3 tomorrow night, or we're talking about Texas winning their first national championship.
You're right. I agree.
By the way, Eric, Scott does have a question. Is Texas Tech going to be the home team in game 3, or is it going to be Texas because of the highest seeded team?
Texas.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
They alternate. They alternate
Thank
that
you.
stuff.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Just wanted to, because the people in the chat wanted to confirm. So I think for Texas Tech, especially now they got Davis and Tony going.
Exactly. That's a great point.
But Eric, again, I brought this up last night after game one. They need more production outside of the top of that lineup. Look at this. Davis and Tony, 3 for 7. The rest of that Texas Tech lineup, 1 for 3, 1 for 4, 1 for 3, 0 for 1, 0 for 3, 0 for 3, 0 for 2, 0 for 2, 0 for 1. You're gonna need everyone else to do their job if you want to take home the national championship tomorrow night. You can't just rely on Davis and Tony to be your entire offense. Now, look, it worked tonight. You got helped by some.
Well, give me a name. Give me a name.
It has to be Allred. It has to be Allred or Damian Elder at the bottom of the order.
Wouldn't that be something if it was Damian Elder, the kid that stuck around?
Remember, Elder was the one that hit the home run to clinch Texas Tech's Big 12 regular season championship. So why not be her, the person who's been through it all with that program to get the big hit to get Texas Tech that national championship? Why not her?
What about for Texas? Because I think Texas needs. I mean, Scott's been doing her part. Can Reese get? She hit the one hit.
Right.
Is it Reese? It's got to be either her or Mitchell or Stewart. One of those three has to have a good game tomorrow night.
I think here's as crazy as it sounds. Remember, Eric, the bottom of the Texas order was the one that got the rally going in the top of the 7th, with Jennings getting the pinch hit. Linda moved. No, it wasn't Jennings. Excuse me. It was Good who got the hit. Simmons came in. She got an RBI, and I want to see. Here's the thing: Jolie Mitchell only has 3 hits in all of the Women's College World Series. Granted, all of them have been home runs.
I was gonna say she's made it count, and that might be the way to beat Kennedy.
Here's the thing. And I'm looking at let's analyze the box scores tonight. First, let's look at Texas. The top 3 in the order: Maloney, Henry, and Scott. They go a combined 4 for 10. The rest of the lineup: Atwood 0 for 3, 0 for 6, 1 for 8, 1 for 10, 2 for 13, 2 for 15. But Good and Simmons with the RBIs. Now let's flip it back over to the Texas Tech side of things. Again, Davis. And again, you see Davis and Tony coming in, and you see Allred producing. So that's 4. So that's 4 of your 5 hits for the top of the order, and nothing else besides Jennings with the pinch hit. Who's 4 through 9 can be more productive? That's going to be the key to who will win the national championship tomorrow night, because the top of the order for these 2 teams, 1 through 3, they've done their job. But really, for Texas Tech, it's been Davis and Tony. Can they get somebody else outside of those 2 to get something going? And if you're Texas, especially, can you get Reese Atwood going in any sort of fashion? Can you get people outside of that top 3 to get a big hit? That's going to be who will decide the national championship tomorrow night.
I'm just nervous. That's just nerve-wracking, Vic. That's going to be wild. This is going to be wild.
But this is what as softball fans were wanting to hope for when we started this season. We were hoping for drama. We were hoping for a decisive game 3 to determine the national champion. And here we have it. And one of these schools will have their first national championship in program history.
Oh, I just hope it's a clean game, awesome game. I hope certain people stay out of the way.
They did that tonight. We give them credit. They did that tonight. Keep up the momentum.
I don't remember victory World Series game where I was not sure what the heck was going to happen. Like literally, this is a toss-up. You can make a case for both sides here, Vic.
You can. Where
that's gonna be it. I mean, Kennedy a third time. Did Texas figure something out at the end? Did they not? You got Cavan. I mean, Mike, and I thought you brought it up great. I think certainly the bottom of the order is a key. Also, run your again. Think about this: Texas Tech had the bases loaded in the first inning, and both game 1 and 2 have not scored.
0.
Are they
Zero.
due? Are they due?
I think so.
Is one of these teams due? Could this be the ultimate shocker where one of these teams, whoever breaks through first, the floodgates open?
I don't know.
That's what it's going to be. It's fascinating. I think this is going to be the most watched softball game ever, Vic. I think this is going to break that 07 record, finally. I really do.
I really do. By the way, couple more stats I want to show everybody before we wrap up. Texas Tech. I want you to look at these two numbers, ladies and gentlemen. Texas Tech, 0 for 7 with 2 outs, 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. That's got to change tomorrow night. And I'm sure I'll look up the stats for game 1 because they were not much better in game 1 against Cavan. Can Texas Tech produce with runners in scoring position and with 2 outs?
Right. It's a great call. It's it's unbelievable. It is going to be something. Cannot wait.
It's going to be a scene. It's going to be a scene tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen.
Now do you have one more in you, Vic? You got one more show in you to my live late night show tomorrow night?
Hey, I got plenty of time in the summer to rest. I will be ready to rock and roll tomorrow.
You're like, nice, you're ready to go over to rest.
Hey, I will rest on Saturday. I will be ready to go. I just need everyone else to be ready to go.
So
coming up tomorrow night.
All right. So once again, folks, we will be on here after game 3 tomorrow night, whenever that is. We're going to be on after. Are we on after the championship celebration, or right, is that what we're doing? We're going to be on after the championship celebration, right? Not literally the last out. I think. I don't remember what we've done. I don't remember.
Follow our social
there was that one
media
year where you were in the plane. I think you were getting on a plane. I think.
I was on the plane. You're talking about 2021, where I was literally flying. No, I was in an Uber coming back from the airport to the house after Oklahoma won their first of 4 straight national championships.
Right, you literally flew out during the game because you had to. I mean, the thing got pushed back because of weather and all that stuff, and that was the Jenna was on for the first time.
Now
the irony is that was the year we had the fire alarms go off during one of our live shows.
That was a year of change in the Women's College World Series. We had the infamous fire alarm incident. We had the Florida State-Oklahoma State game that ended at 2:30 in the morning, which prompted a schedule change. We had the weather delay that forced the Champ Series to force game 2 to be played on a Wednesday and game 3 to be played on a Thursday. And I had to fly out because I was supposed to be back at work the next day. So
is that true? We were on at 2 a.m. that year? Were we on at 2 a.m.?
No. We were not on at 2 a.m. We were supposed to be on at around 11 p.m. But the
Fire Alarm Vic. Well, there you go. Fire Alarm Vic, the legend.
Because Eric, remember that day we did a impromptu live show because of the weather as our guest. So that's what happened.
And this year on the D1 softball show, we had tornado warning sirens going off.
Yeah. Yeah, that happened. Yeah, that happened. I was not involved in that in any shape, form, or fashion.
No, but it was eerily similar situation. Except Jenna didn't leave the premise. Like you had to leave. Like I remember you had to leave the premise when the fire.
I had to leave my hotel room. I had to leave my hotel room because it was a
Jenna
fire
did not
alarm.
leave towards loyalty to, well, really it was because we had Kat Osterman on the show. I don't think she wanted to.
Well, yeah,
so,
of course.
But she did not leave the premise, even though, well, you can't leave the premise. You don't want to leave the premise in a tornado warning. So, yeah, man, it's crazy. It's been intense. It's been a classic series. I hope it's a classic finish. I feel for whoever loses. I like both sides. That's sports. It's going to be dramatic. It could be one of the most dramatic. I think it's got to. Again, the record number is 2.33 million. Arizona, Tennessee, Abbott, Moat. That is 18 years ago. Is that record about to be broken? That's going to be.
I think it will, Eric. I don't think that record, Eric. I don't think that record is going to be broken. I think that record is going to be shattered.
Well, and is he going to beat the Stanley Cup final head to head? It almost beat him last night.
I think it will. I think it will.
It's got a chance. It's got a chance too. What a night of sports television. Woo. All right, folks, we're gonna end it on that. And yes, the reason the portals, nobody understands why the portals open during the postseason. This is not just a softball thing. This happens during basketball as well and everything like that. Trust me, the portal will definitely become a storyline after this week. So there you go.
Especially with the names who have popped up in the portal during the Champ Series. Whoa.
Well, and listen, and tomorrow night's result might impact some of the moves. Let's just leave it as that. There could be ramifications.
So you're saying Eric Lopez, whoever wins the national championship tomorrow night could not only win the national championship, but could win another prize possession via the portal.
It could be that, or it could be whoever loses the game might be a little extra aggressive to get certain players to get over the hump next year. Because either way, these two teams to me will be the favorites going into next year. Because I think both teams are going to. I think both teams are going to add
in Oklahoma as well. Because Patty Gasso did mention on local Oklahoma radio that Shooter fans will be maybe pleased with some additions that I'll be making to the program.
There you go.
That's it.
I agree with you. I think those three teams are going to be aggressive in the portal, for sure. So for the person that keeps talking about Texas Tech, trust me, Texas Tech was not original in this stuff. This has been going on in college sports for a while. So do not at least Texas Tech and Kennedy has earned it. She's worth every penny of it, because it's pretty wild. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was at the World Series tonight, Vic. Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
Man. In the same booth that I was in for the Big 12 tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they told him, hey, listen, this is where the End of Circle show was?
No. I don't think he has any idea who the heck we are.
I disagree. I think you should reach out. Patrick, you're welcome to the show. No?
So we had to talk to his handler, Nick Wright, first. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, what are you starting media wars here? Haven't we have enough of that already? Anyway, thanks to Laura Trout, Illinois associate head coach, former player part of the 2010 World Series Georgia team, for joining us on this program. Thank you to all of you for joining us. If you missed Game 1's recap, we had Allison Benning on that show. She was fantastic. We had Laura Trout on this show. We'll be back on tomorrow night as well. That's going to be wild. We're going to have one thing is guaranteed. We're going to have a new national champion crowned tomorrow night. It's going to be historic. Will it be the Red Raiders of Texas Tech and keeping that title in the Big 12 for a 5th straight year? Or will Texas finally bring a national title to the SEC for the first time since 2015? Sounds weird. Or some might argue that this is a Big 12 title series anyway. Anyway, should be a lot of fun. Keep it on In the Circle SB on social media for all the updates, as well as the YouTube channel. Keep it on D1 Softball. Jenna Becerra, they'll have post-game interviews coming up on the social media platforms. Keep it on D1Softball.com. We do mention the transfer portal. There are news going on with that, as well as coaching moves. All of that, you could have the transfer tracker, keeping track on all that on D1Softball.com as well. Justin McLeod's on top of that. And then college baseball super regionals get going tomorrow. Follow d1baseball.com. That's a crazy sport itself. They will be going on, with the crew over there. So it's a great time of year. For Victor Anderson, I'm Eric Lopez. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of In the Circle Live. We're going to talk to you Friday night or Saturday morning after Game 3 when a national champion will be crowned.
Top podcast is out. Good night, Canada.